I'll go with they were exceeding sorrowful and began. Or maybe if they began to be sorrowful and to say one to another. Where should the word began be? Should it be before being sorrowful? Or before questioning? I don't think it makes as much sense to try and figure out the timeline of their emotions and how that would affect the sentence instead of using words to best combine these two verses. Because if I move began from the beginning to the second part, one by one, every one of them to say to him, or every one of them to say to him one by one, to better help that sentence structure, I think that would make a lot more sense than using began at the beginning, because maybe their sorrow came first compared to their questions. But I don't know that, so I'm going to go with how the sentence structure would help. And I already know how that would work. Instead of saying, and every one of them to say to him one by one, it would sound and flow a lot better to say, and one by one, every one of them began to say to him. One by one, every one of them began to say to him. That makes way more sense. I'm going to move this began to here. And of course I have to exchange to be, or began to be, to how it says in Matthew, were. But again, I don't think that's a problem. It was just a choice between one or the other, and it makes a lot more sense to have began there. Their feelings and then their actions, which have a beginning. And they. So let me just start with what I know. Matthew and Mark, and they. Now, only Matthew were exceeding sorrowful as both. And to say to him, Matthew, and began every one of them to say to him. And one by one. To say every one, or I could have and every one to say to him. That could work. And one by one. Every one of them began to say to him. Yeah, I think that could work. And is both. One by one. Matthew, every one of them, both, began to say to him. Mark continues, is it I? Lord, is it I? So I'll add Lord from Matthew. Is it I? The is not there in Mark. In either place, is it I? And another, who said, is it I? another, italics said, italics is it I. So now it would read, and they were exceeding sorrowful, and one by one, every one of them began to say to him, Lord, is it I? And another said, is it I?